Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Reach out to me directly. Email tmosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing. The first Glashütte Original Senator Perpetual calendar debuted back in 1999, and it's undergone several revisions through the year. This one marked a major change for 2005, the addition of the new Caliber 100 base movement, replacing the older Caliber 39. Because this dial, with a sort of rosette guilloche centered on the moon phase, was a one-year only offering, you know that this watch, which came out in 2005, is also a 2005 model year example. Now, it's nicely sized, 40 millimeters in diameter, in stainless steel. It's also fairly thin, 12.8 millimeters thick, and from lug to lug, a compact 47.6 millimeters with a bit of a vintagey 19 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll throw this on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, and it wears nicely. I believe you could wear this watch comfortably on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference, and I base that on the amount of clearance I've got on each side of my wrist. You can see from over the top that the lugs come nowhere near the edge, and I always say when the lugs are over the edge of your wrist, that's too big. These are nowhere near. So again, 14 centimeter circumference wrists and up, wear with confidence. You can also see it's got a concave sloped bezel and a relatively thin profile. It is a dress watch, though a sporty one, and it will fit underneath a tight dress sleeve or cuff. Taking a look at the bracelet, it's integrated, not in the fashion of a Nautilus or a Royal Oak, more in the fashion of a Rolex with an end link that closes the gap to the lug profiles as well as the curvature of the case. Everything here is high polished, dress watch style, and you can see that there's a bit of a countersink of link into link so that very little daylight shows through. The tolerances are outstanding, and this bracelet has some of the least sag or wiggle laterally that I've ever experienced. Removable links are fixed in place using screws on both sides, as you can see, of the bracelet. Plus, we have a push-button slider. Internally, you can see that there's a rack and a locking system, so you can push this in, pull it out. You have quite a bit of adjustability, about 10 millimeters in 1 millimeter increments, so you do have the ability to fine-tune the fit without actually removing or adding links. Twin trigger release, single fold deployment, so quite a bit of security, and you can see that this watch is rather robustly water resistant for a dress watch, 5 ATM or 50 meters instead of the dress watch standard of 30. The lugs are broken out from the case band, though not as dramatically as on a Longa. You can see that everything's polished. The lugs also have a little bit of a diminishing bevel that thins out as you approach their end. The bezel has a flange abutting the sapphire, and then the rest of it is conical or concave. I think it's very slightly concave in profile. We have a Geo branded crown. We have several pusher adjusters for the calendar indications, but this little one, the lower one, has a special function. It activates a recentering hammer for a zero reset function that recenters the seconds hand. So when you set the watch precisely to a reference, you hit this with a pusher tool and it immediately recenters the hand, and now you're synced up to your reference time. The watch does have lume. We'll take a look at that real quick. Not a ton, but at the four corners, and then two generously loomed hands, so you know the hours and the minutes. The dial is a sort of silver metallic. It's got a concentric brushed pattern outboard. The indices are applied, faceted, and rhodium plated for high contrast and reflectivity. And then we have several different cuts, several different guilloche cuts. We have this rosette pattern, we have a rayon pattern, and then a dental pattern that runs around the border of the center dial. This went away for 2006. The dial became smooth and less ornate. I actually like this one-year dial. I think it's quite attractive, and it fits the character of the watch. We also have an all-aperture style calendar, which I love because it can be difficult to read sub-register perpetual calendars like those common at Blancpain and Patek Philippe. Taking a quick look, you can see that there's a little leap year indicator up at the top. That'll change color when you enter the quantième bissextile or leap year. I do not know the German word for that, but I do know that it will change color. We also have the day, we have the month, and then we have the panorama datum, or the outsized date. Now, the watch does have a wonderfully precise setting crown, so there's almost no dead angle. I like to shout this out when I find a watch that has that capability, because there are some watches that have a crown like the wheel on an interstate bus. You can turn it inches in both directions, and that wheel's not going to change the direction of the bus. And there are some crowns that are ropey and don't immediately cause the hands to jump when you turn. This is not one of those. Not only is the crown robust when withdrawn, it doesn't want to wobble, but there's almost zero dead angle in the setting. It's exactly as you would expect from a German watch. So this was new for 2005 on the QPs. Twin mainspring barrel, caliber 100. So the caliber 100 has 2 barrels and a 55-hour power reserve. Specifically, this is caliber 100-02. It's nicely decorated, pivots on 59 jewels. It has 5-position adjustment, which is the high horology and chronometer standard. It has the 0 reset function, the perpetual calendar, so it doesn't need to be reset until the year 2100. There's a lot of fine finish, from snailing on the outer edge of the bridges to stripes across their top. All screw heads are black polished. We have a black polished swan's neck regulator and this beautifully solarized reduction wheel that's hand finished for the winding system. You can also see that the caps on the barrels have been black polished, and this is all high horology, and with twin barrels you get a very even torque release from maximum wind to minimum wind. So here the 2 barrels don't give you some ridiculous multi-day power reserve, but what they do assure you is after 18, 24, 36 hours, you're not going to see a huge drop off in balance amplitude, and that's a problem with a single barrel movement. That's why the caliber 100s use 2, a much flatter, more consistent torque curve to the escapement. If you love this watch, reach out to me, Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com, for purchase and pricing details.